All right, if you have made it this far, you have gotten through the hardest part of this unit. So, today's lesson will actually be probably the easiest, or it just gets easier. We're in the downhill slide of this chapter. Okay, so we are factoring quadratic trinomials, a very specific kind, when a is 1. Okay, now, the reason we do the harder ones first is because I don't want to teach you a shortcut that you then apply to things you cannot apply it to. So I really want to emphasize that this is a method for only when that leading coefficient is 1. So when our x squared coefficient is 1, that is the only time we can use this shortcut. And that shortcut is we simply ask ourselves what number multiplies to C and adds to B, and that answer goes directly into your factors. You don't have to do that splitting up and factoring by grouping, so you get to skip a couple steps. So it's that easy, but remember that's only when the x squared coefficient is 1. So we just ask ourselves what multiplies to C and adds to B. In example 1, we got x squared plus 6x plus 5. We know our factors are going to be two linear binomials, so I like to just set up my parentheses, my two sets of parentheses right away. And the first terms have to multiply together to be x squared, so we're going to split those up, x and x. Okay, now we ask ourselves what multiplies to 5 and adds to 6. This one's even easier yet because 5 is a prime number. So what are our only options? What are the only two numbers that multiply to 5? That would be 1 and 5. Those also happen to add to 6. So those are the numbers that go directly into our factors. Okay? We don't have to split up our x term and factor by grouping. The answer to that question goes directly into your factors. Let's check our answer by distributing. If I distribute the x times x gives us x squared. X times 1 gives us 1x. Distributing 5. 5 times x is 5x. So when we combine together our 1x plus 5x, we would get 6x. And then 5 times 1 gives us 5. So that's checking our answer by distributing. Moving on. Number 2, I like to just set up my two sets of parentheses for my factors. Split up the x terms, the x squared term. And I'm going to ask myself, what multiplies to 12 and adds to negative 7? Okay, so to multiply to a positive and add to a negative, both of them must be negative. And then I think about what multiplies to 12. 1 and 12, that's not going to work. 2 and 6, that's not going to work. 3 and 4, there it is. But they both have to be minus, so minus 3 and minus 4. Number 3, I like to start with my two sets of parentheses, split up the y squared. In our minds, we're thinking what multiplies to negative 18 and adds to negative 3. So to multiply to a negative, we must have a positive and a negative. Think about what multiplies to 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. 3 and 6 would be the winners, but we have to do negative 6 and plus 3 because it has to add up to negative 3. So I'll just tell you the most common mistake on these easier problems is switching your signs and not having the correct signs. So just got to make sure that when you add these numbers together, you get negative 3. If you added them together and you got positive 3, that means you need to switch your signs. Number 4, start with your two sets of parentheses, split up the c squared, ask yourself what multiplies to negative 15 and adds to 2. So if you're thinking plus 5 minus 3, you're correct. Number 5, start with your two sets of parentheses, split up the a squared. What multiplies to negative 16 and adds to positive 15? So to multiply to a negative, we have to have different signs. So what factors of 16 would have a difference of 15. That would be 1 and 16. Make that a plus 16 and a minus 1 because they have to add to positive 15. Okay, so just when your signs are going to be different, just double check those. Make sure you have the correct sum, that these two numbers add up to positive 15 and not negative 15. Number 6, start with your two sets of parentheses, split up the x squared term, and then ask ourselves what multiplies to negative 20 and adds to negative 8. So I start by thinking 1 and 20. That would not work. So then 2 and 10. There it is. But it has to add to negative 8. So I know I want to have a negative 10 and a plus 2. Checking our answer by distributing or FOIL, first times first. So the first term in this set times the first term in this set would give us x squared. Our outside product would be 2x, and the inside product would be negative 10x. 2x minus 10x would combine to give us that negative 8x. And then the last terms multiplied together. So the last term in this set times the last term in this set would give us negative 20. So that's checking our answer just by distributing. FOIL is the acronym for how we distribute. Peace.